Trudeau denies security officials told Liberals to rescind MP's candidacy. Seriously, the headline is the denial, not the accusation. They don't even say what the accusation is about China infiltrating and corrupting. The story leads with the denial, not the fact. And then it briefly mentions the accusations. And then the first expert, they quote, says it's a fake accusation. Let me quote. Stephanie Carvin, associate professor of national security at Carleton University, questioned the suggestion that CSIS would ask that a nomination be rescinded. CSIS's mandate allows it to report on threats to the security of Canada. I do not think this would extend to asking the Prime Minister's office to rescind a nomination, Carvin wrote in a tweet. Oh, well, then that settles it. A professor who receives grant money from the Trudeau government says she has trouble imagining that this thing happened. So case closed, right? Check this out here, of course. They interviewed, get this, Gerald Butts. Seriously, who does that? Remember him? He was the corrupt aide to Justin Trudeau, the one who demanded that Jody Wilson-Raybould interfere in that criminal trial. And he was later fired in disgrace over it. Who would talk to him about anything, let alone ethics or corruption or honesty? Well, the CBC, that's who, obviously. He read the story in the Globe, and he knows what the real blockbuster news is, though. He thinks the big news is that someone tattled on his boss. He highlighted that the leak would be illegal if it came from CSIS, and he said this on Twitter. He said, "This is the most significant paragraph in this morning's Globe story. Its implications boggle the mind." Is that really the most important thing? That someone leaked to the Globe and Mail that China was paying off Trudeau and the Trudeau Foundation? Is the leak more significant than the substance of the leak itself? Well, for Gerald Butts it is, of course. He's terrified of what they might leak about him, because do you doubt that Butts himself was given the same briefing? I mean, he's been friends, best buddies since university with Trudeau. Butts was Trudeau's brain until he was fired. He's still obviously deeply involved in Trudeau's government. Butts was their chief candidate recruiter. Do you doubt he was up to his eyeballs in this? But let me close with two things. First, let me read a bit to you from this story in the Globe and Mail today. They're just doing work every day on this stuff. The headline is, CSIS uncovered Chinese plan to donate to Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. China appears to have targeted Justin Trudeau in a foreign influence operation after he became Liberal leader in 2013, according to a national security source who said Beijing's plan involved donating a significant sum of money to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. The source said the Canadian Security Intelligence Service captured a conversation in 2014 between an unnamed commercial attaché at one of China's consulates in Canada and billionaire Zhang Bin, a political advisor to the government in Beijing and a senior official in China's network of state promoters around the world. They discussed the federal election that was expected to take place in 2015 and the possibility that the Liberals would defeat Stephen Harper's Conservatives and form the next government. The source said the diplomat instructed Zhang to donate $1 million to the Trudeau Foundation and told him the Chinese government would reimburse him for the entire amount. Huh. That's big news. The story goes on, and it's worth a read. Let me just read a little more. Just weeks after the May fundraiser, talking about a fundraiser, the Trudeau Foundation and the University of Montreal announced that Mr. Zhang and another wealthy Chinese businessman, Niu Gensheng, would donate $1 million to honor the memory and leadership of Pierre Trudeau, who as Prime Minister opened diplomatic relations with China in 1970. Of the $1 million, $200,000 went to the Trudeau Foundation, which provides scholarships, academic fellowships, and leadership programs. Another $50,000 went to pay for a statue of the elder Mr. Trudeau. And $750,000 went to the University of Montreal's Faculty of Law to fund scholarships, which include grants that help Quebec students visit China. Pierre Trudeau graduated from the faculty and later taught there. The Trudeau Foundation, by the way, is basically a huge slush fund for the Trudeau family, friends, political allies. It's where family members get jobs. Here's Sarah Coyne, who is the illegitimate daughter of Pierre Trudeau and his mistress, Deborah Coyne. May as well give her a job. Here's Alexandra Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's brother. By the way, Alexandra actually worked directly for the Chinese government. They published his book on China. There are 1 million publishers in the world. Alexandra Trudeau chose to work with and be paid by the communist government in China. If you look at their list of recipients for grants and type in the word journalist or journalism in the search field, you can see just how many so-called reporters are on the Trudeau payroll directly, literally from the Trudeau Foundation, which means they're on the Chinese Communist Party dime now, doesn't it? That's what that means. I mean, for example, here's Susan Delacourt. She reports for the Toronto Star, but she took money from the Trudeau Foundation. Oh, and surprise, here she is with a loving piece on Justin Trudeau. Let me quote the story. Justin Trudeau is losing ground to Pierre Poilievre. He's using Donald Trump to fight back. Got it. I'm sure it's a neutral, objective story. Hey, can I show you something? I read to you about the donations to the Trudeau Foundation from Zhang Bin. There's good stuff in the Globe. But let me show you that in my book. Do you remember this book? China Virus, How Justin Trudeau's Pro-Communist Ideology is Putting Canadians in Danger. I wrote it in the spring of 2020 when the pandemic was really new. Now, I got a few things wrong in retrospect. I think I was too worried about the disease itself back in April of 2020 when I wrote the book, April, May. But that was just half the book. The other half is about Trudeau's ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Let me read to you from my chapter called China Buys the Liberal Party. Let me read a few pages to you, okay? I mean, if you have the book, you can follow along. Take the Trudeau Foundation, a massive slush fund for not only the Trudeau family, but for Liberal Party hangers-on. That's where Trudeau would send Chinese millionaires looking to make donations in exchange for favors, since it was all off the books. One happy donor just happened to be Zhang Bin, a member of China's National Committee of the Chinese People Political Consultative Conference. That's part of the Chinese dictatorship, whose close comparison would probably be the Canadian Senate. Zhang happily spread $1 million around Montreal, including $200,000 that wound up in the Trudeau Foundation and a staggering $50,000 for a statue of Pierre Trudeau. It's possible that a Chinese Communist Party boss had a true affection for the Trudeau family. The Trudeaus certainly have an affection for China. But Zhang's official biography makes it clear his goal is, quote, enhancing the global influence of China. What exactly did Zhang seek to influence? And how would we even know how he went about it? That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.